What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today is going to be one of those feedback videos where I'm going to be talking about one specific element of Vanguard that I feel could really use some change, and this is the counter spy plane. Now just a quick clarification, since I always get these sorts of comments anytime I make a feedback video, I am not whining or complaining about the counter spy plane in this video. I just think that it's not in a good place currently, and it could use some work and some improvement, and in doing so, this could improve the gameplay overall. And that's what I want to see. I want this game to be the best that it can be. So let's dive into it and talk about the primary issues with the counter spy plane, and there's actually quite a few of them. Now, the first big issue with the counter spy plane in relation to all previous counter UAVs and counter spy planes in the past with Call of Duty is Vanguard's counter spy plane actually prevents you from calling in a good number of the streaks in this game. And I actually went through and tested this, and every streak with an X on it in this image, you are unable to call in if the enemy has a counter spy plane up. And I think the craziest thing about all of this is you can't even call in a V2, one of the most rare and difficult streaks in Call of Duty to get. You won't be able to call in your 25 kill streak if the enemy was able to put together a 4 kill streak to get a counter UAV, at least not until that counter UAV has been destroyed or it simply expires with time. And this right here, I think, is probably the primary issue with the counter UAV in its current state, or at least the primary issue that I have, is in the past, counter UAVs, all it does is it blocks your minimap, and that's absolutely valuable as a 4 kill streak. Traditionally in Call of Duty, to have a streak that prevents the enemy team from being able to use their streaks, you would have to get at least like a 7 to 10 kill streak in order to make that happen. Now, with the counter UAV, that's just a 4 kill streak. So honestly, if they're going to be keeping the counter spy plane at a 4 kill streak, I don't feel like this should prevent you from calling any streak in. Even the regular spy plane, I think it's totally fine if people want to waste their regular spy plane and call it in while there's a counter spy plane up. That's on them if they screw up and call that in. It shouldn't be preventing you from calling any streaks in the game, at least not as a 4 kill streak. After that though, another big issue with the counter UAV or counter spy plane, forgive me if I say counter UAV, that's just what I'm used to calling it. But another big issue with this is it lasts for a full 60 seconds, which is a very long time for a streak like a counter UAV. If you compare this to the counter UAVs of past Call of Duty games, most of them only last for like 30 to 45 seconds at most, not a full 60 seconds. When you take a look at the length of the average Call of Duty match, we're looking at 8 to 10 minutes per game. One single counter UAV will last 1 out of those 8 to 10 minutes, which is pretty crazy in my eyes. And for many players out there, if you make it your goal, you can consistently be getting those 4 kill streaks every minute or so you can have a constant stream of those counter spy planes up in the air. And I do feel it would be much more appropriate at about 45 seconds. Even if they were able to fix the issue and make it so it doesn't prevent you from calling in enemy streaks, I still think a full 1 minute duration is just too much for a counter UAV. Next up, another issue with the counter spy plane that is really specific to Vanguard, I find, is the actual behavior of the streak in the air and your ability to consistently take it down. In most other Call of Duty games, when there is a counter UAV or counter spy plane, it will fly in a circular pattern over the map just like the spy planes do in Vanguard. And in many cases, I really like how they did this. They would make it fly counterclockwise, whereas UAVs would fly clockwise. That, in my mind, was a great way to handle the counter spy plane, because now in Vanguard, the way they have this is instead of it flying in a circle like the spy planes do, it comes in a straight line across the map. And in doing so, for the first 15 or so seconds, that counter spy plane is nearly impossible to be shooting, at least on a consistent basis with a launcher, because we don't have lock-on launchers in this game. So even if you are actively trying to shoot down these counter spy planes with a launcher, it's still very likely going to be active for at least 15 seconds before you even feel comfortable taking a shot at that counter UAV. So it doesn't have nearly as much counterplay as we see in many previous Call of Duties as well. And it also doesn't have the same counterplay as a spy plane, which in my mind at least is way weaker than the counter spy plane in this game, and yet they take the exact same number of kills in a life to earn. Now, I do think there's a couple potential solutions to this particular issue with the counter spy plane. First up is just make it have the same flight path that it used to have in older Call of Duty games. Make it so instead of coming in on a straight line where it's basically inaccessible for 15 seconds, make it spawn in just like the spy plane does, but make it fly in the opposite direction. This would make it so just like with the spy plane, if you're using a launcher, you have a near instant ability to target that counter spy plane and attempt to take it down. Either that, or if they insist on having the counter UAV have that straight flight path, maybe just shorten the amount of time it takes for the counter spy plane to make it within the area where you can reasonably shoot at it with a launcher. They already make it so when it's exiting the map, it will accelerate away while still being active. They could do the exact same thing with it coming into the map as well, so that maybe it's only 5 seconds before it gets to a reasonable point where you could start shooting at it with a launcher. But finally, there's one other thing about the counter spy plane in Vanguard that makes it way more powerful than many previous years with Call of Duty. This is the fact that there's no counter perk to the counter spy plane. In many previous years, there would be a perk that you can use that would just make it so as long as you're using that perk, you would still get your minimap even if the enemy called the counter spy plane in against you. And again, for such a low tier streak that's easy to earn with just 4 kills in a row, I feel like it's totally reasonable to have a counter perk to that. The regular spy plane, which also costs 4 kills to earn, that has a counter perk with it being Ghost, and I think a counter to the counter spy plane would be a great addition to the engineer perk in this game. I do feel like the engineer perk is quite weak, especially compared to many of the other tier 2 perks in the game, and I think perhaps having resistance to the counter spy plane would be a great addition to the engineer perk. And with that, that pretty much covers the primary issues I have with the counter spy plane in this game. Now, individually, I don't think these are all completely terrible problems. It's mainly just all of these things stacked together make this counter spy plane the most powerful counter spy plane or counter UAV we've ever seen in Call of Duty history by a pretty large margin. So I really think for balance sake, it would be great to see some of these improvements that I've mentioned. I don't think a counter spy plane at a 4 kill streak should prevent you from being able to call your streaks in. I don't think it should be lasting for a full minute. And I do think it should have a little bit more counterplay as far as being able to shoot it down with a launcher. Even if they only targeted 2 of those 3 issues, I think this would go a long way into improving the kill streak balance in the game. Now, I did also want to address a lot of people I've seen suggest maybe the counter spy plane should just be a higher tier streak. And while that may be an okay solution, I do kind of like the fact that the counter spy plane is in the exact same tier as the spy plane, so then you can't run both of those together. I think if we were to bump the counter spy plane out of the same tier as the spy plane, then you'd get a lot more people running that counter spy plane because many of them use the spy plane as a crutch. Now they'd be able to use both, and then I think we'd be seeing counter spy planes all over the place, way more than we're currently seeing them, and I think that could potentially introduce some issues as well. But of course, these are all just my opinions, what I think of the issue, as well as the feedback that I have that I feel could significantly improve this kill streak balance. This is where I want to hear from you guys in the comment section below though. First up, do you guys agree with me? Do you think the counter spy plane is too powerful in its current state as a 4 kill streak? Or do you think it's totally fine as is? And if you do think it's an issue, what do you think about the potential solutions that I've offered? Do you think these would be good solutions, or do you have something that's potentially better in mind? Just let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.